And, you know, I hope that the people out listening will understand this. Wrestling is wrestling with the spots and all. The spots and all the little turns and all the entertainment, that makes it interesting. But for the people who've been watching practically as long as I have, I've been watching wrestling since about 1987, maybe 1988. You know, when it comes to wrestling, pure wrestling, something like that is really what makes you open your eyes and realize how great wrestling can and has been.
Yeah. It's
matches where the pacing works, counters, everything just keeps you so on the edge of your seat.
Especially when you look at what Randy Orton always says, he tries always getting a good face, just so you can see. If he's in pain, then you'll have that glaze over. He does a really good one where it's he gets knocked out or something, his eyes sort of glaze over a bit, and just he takes the time to let the audience know what exactly happened with his body, and
I mean, if you want good matches, and not trying to go too much off topic here.
No, that's fine.
But if you want to really know what wrestling is, you have to go back and watch matches like Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero time limit draw match in ECW. 30-minute time limit, and they went to a draw. There was no clear-cut winner, and it was all wonderfully paced, beautiful technical work. Mm-hmm. Go back and,
look at the Benoit and Jericho one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which one was that, Vengeance or something?
Yes,
yeah.
And that's something that actually irritated me. I was just telling, I'll say my co-host, I guess.
Yeah.
That I was watching the Chris Jericho DVD earlier today, and one of the things that made me sad in the documentary was the fact that of all the feuds that he had, they could not talk about the Chris Benoit one because they produced some of the best mid-card matches you could possibly have to start a pay-per-view. Mm. And, those two right there.
It's also, not about, all the chances of, people really getting hurt. For example, one with Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, where it just seemed what was...
WrestleMania?
Yeah. What was that finisher that Lesnar does again?
Lesnar, that was a very tricky one that night. Not to be all ha ha ha, oh my god. I was there that night.
Yeah.
In Seattle. And the way Kurt Angle landed on his head during that F5.
I know.
My God, that had to hurt. Well, even worse, Brock Lesnar crashing and burning on a shooting star press.
Yeah, he did.
I did not leave the arena until they got Brock Lesnar out of the ring that night.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds nerdy, but that's how diehard wrestling fan I am. Yeah. I was actually concerned for Lesnar's well-being that I stayed there until they got him into the back.
I mean, that stuff is exciting and stuff, but I mean, the really good matches are the ones that, well produced. No fan wants to see someone get hurt.
We all loved seeing Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber, but, high risk, high reward matches like that, it's just so dangerous. And, I mean, people feel like, oh yeah, you need that to get such a great match, but at the same time, you just need a really good, slow-paced, but well-paced wrestling match with headlocks, takeovers, small ground submissions.
Even counters on finishers.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That was basically the whole Christian and Orton match at Over the Limit. And just, time back over there and, concluding it. I thought that the heel turn was going to happen actually at that pay-per-view. Because
I did too.
Yeah, because, Orton offers Christian a handshake. And Christian's just I don't know if I should take it or not and stuff like that. So, eventually he does, and then he, walks back. But, everybody's just watching and waiting and seeing if he's going to run the hell back and just lay ass down. So that's what was so exciting that actually finally happened. People were just thinking, he might turn heel, maybe he won't, and then, all of a sudden he does.
I think we all saw it coming kind of this week, but, much credit to the camera crew there and the producers in the back. Good job there keeping Christian as far out of the frame as you can, just keeping it nice and tight on Orton, so when they finally moved over to Christian, you just caught him coming into the frame to blast Orton with the title. perfect, so that way the people watching at home would not catch on. There was no fans cheering like, oh my God, look out. Perfect setup.
Nice. All right, just to, we weren't like, planning on putting this in here, but just like a quick few words about Randy Savage.
Yes. During my little rant there about technicalities, I actually was going to recommend to all fans who have not, if you have not watched Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat,
fantastic.
Get on that.
Yeah.
Everything they said it wasn't more. It definitely did steal the show at WrestleMania 3. Savage was always a phenomenal talent. The man, his elbow drop was flawless. Look at all the people he inspired. If we never had Randy Savage, we never would have had Black Machismo Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal's fantastic too.
He actually talked to Randy a lot during that. He would not do that without Randy Savage's blessing. And Randy Savage said, hey, brother, go for it. More to you. But, it's a shame that, after all that time, we never got to see Savage anything involved with WWE anywhere. And then this year, we all had that commercial of him in WWE All-Stars where he actually did it himself.
Yeah.
And you finally had that hope that Savage was going to come back to WWE television on some capacity. And, it would be like a nice little kickback to back then. And, he's unfortunately taken too soon.
Yeah.
The man was only in his 50s.
You were saying before that, like, the saving grace was at least, he was in a car accident. His heart must have been, like, taking so much damage.
Exactly. It's always sad to hear that a wrestler passes. It's even worse under the circumstances of when they find them in a room with drugs, or they, unfortunately, like Chris Benoit, and for the record, we are not afraid to say the Benoit name on this show.
No. One of the biggest things that, my co-host here, we were talking about, doing this for a while, and it's just that you have to talk about the technicalities of the sport if you're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't see, like, football fans not talking about, someone dying, or like, for example, in NASCAR with Dale Earnhardt when he died, and how that was like a huge blow up. That people who didn't even know about NASCAR even knew about it, and it was just like a technicality because of how a safe, it's not really a safe sport, but how a sport like that became safe through different like precautions and things like that, and all of a sudden like a legend like that dies.
Yeah. It's
So,
always sad when,
also another disclaimer, we always thought that he was a great guy, even till the end. So, don't be afraid to mention his name whenever it's like someone wants to talk about it, because, with all the stuff that Benoit has done, and even like Randy Savage has done for the company, really speaks about like what their character is. And
exactly.
what kind of person.
You look at some of the talent out there, like, that used to work there, like Jake Roberts and the Scott Halls.
Right.
Scott Hall right now, for all of you who do not know, is in very, very rough shape. To be honest, and I would hope Scott Hall or any of them would never have ever heard this, I don't see Scott Hall living in 2 years. I might not even see Scott Hall living in 1 year. The man is driving himself over a cliff right now. His friends have been trying, but you can only hope that something happens and the man can get better. You look at Jake Roberts, unfortunately, who, spent half their time drugged up and out of their mind.
Well, Mr. Perfect, too.
At the same time, when you look at these guys, you can't help, even after seeing that, remember all the great stuff that's come from that. Scott Hall is a phenomenal talent. Jake Roberts is a master of the mic and of ring technology. Without Jake Roberts, there would be no Ravens, there would be no Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, all those people not Sandman and Dreamer, excuse me, but all those people that could really get in your head.
Right.
There couldn't possibly even be no Randy Orton.
Exactly. And you know what?